Well, good Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I mean, sorry for yeah, we had a lot of illness this last week, so our numbers are small today. But if someone does come in, can I get someone to volunteer to sort of pop up and thank you, Tim? So yes, if you want to get this cool buzzer that will buzz when the doorbell rings, that's your responsibility. Now you can get it back. That's the problem. Yeah. Okay, Lay, you want to help us about candles? In a clear case of nepotism? Yeah. Yeah. You're used to being up here, aren't you? Yeah. Every time. This is my luck right here. You seen like the push method before?
Oh.
Why is it so much fire on that match?
I don't know.
I think we barely survived that.
Everyone okay?
That match is like
Wow, okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
All right, y'all. We are on page, I think it's page 128, if I remember correctly. Yep, 128. Hine Matov, top prayer. Hine Matovu Manaim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matovu Manaim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matovu Manaim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matovu Manaim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. We're now moving to Lachad Odi on page 138. So this evening, we're going to recite paragraphs 1, 5, and 9. When we arrive at paragraph 9, I invite everyone to stand up and face the entrance as we greet the Shabbat bride. Lecha dodi likra kailai lalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likra kailai lalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad hishmiyanu helam echad Adonai echad ushma echad l'shem letiferet v'hili tehila lecha dodi likra kailai lalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likra kailai lalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela hitori kiva ore kuhumi ori uri shir daberi kavod Adonai alayak negila lecha dodi likra kailai lalalai 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 pnei Shabbat Nekabela lecha dodi likrat kalai la 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Please rise. Boli v'shalom ateret ba'ala gam b'smicha u'v'tzola toch emunei am segula boi chala lecha dodi likra kailai la 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likra kailai la 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. You may be seated. We're now moving to page 142 for Shalom Alechem. Shalom Alechem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzechem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. 144. Yitkada v'yitkada Shemei Rabbah Be'elma divrach elotev yamlik malchutei B'chayechon u'vyomechon U'b'chayrecho Beit Yisrael Ba'agala Ba'agala U'bizman kariv V'imaru Amen Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevarach Le'alam Ulal Me'al Mayam Yitzbarach V'yishtabach V'yipa'ar V'yipromam V'yitnasem V'yitadar V'yitale V'yitalal Shemir Kudasham B'richu Le'elam Min Kol Berchata V'shiratam Tushbechata V'nechemata Damiran Be'almam V'imaru Amen. Now turn to page 146 and rise for the Baruch Hu. Lie, 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 Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamevorach Baruch Adonai Hamevorach Hamevorach Le'olam Va'ed Hamevorach Hamevorach Le'olam Va'ed. You may be seated. And let's read together on top of page 149 in the English. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way in which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamara'iv Aravim. I fear I'm trying to compete with that one right now. I'm not doing well. Yeah. All right, let's move to page 151. Let's read the English on the bottom part of that page. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we dispose ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love? This holiest of your works in the living language that gives it form. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. I'm not looking forward to getting my sermon tonight. It's going to be interesting. Okay, moving to 152 for the Shema. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malachuto Le'olam Va'ed. 154. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol lecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meyodecha v'hayu ha'devarim ha'eleh asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinatam levarnecha b'divartam ba'am v'shivtecha b'veitecha u'liktecha havaderech v'shoftecha u'kumecha u'kshartam leyot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha uktavtam al mezuzo beitecha uvisharecha l'ma'an tiskeru v'asitem echol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim le'eloheichem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotziti etchem meretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem. Adonai Elohechem. Amen. 158. Lie, 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 Mi chamocha ba'alim Adonai, mi kamocha ne'edar ba'kodesh, no ratihilot osei fele, no ratihilot osei fele, lai 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 lie, 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 lie. Moving over to page 162. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam b'rit olam. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam b'rit olam. B'nei Uvein, B'nei Yisrael, Oti le'olam, V'shamru B'nei Yisrael, Et HaShabbat, Lasot et HaShabbat, Ledorotam Berit Olam, Ki Sheshet Yamim Asa Adonai, Et HaShamayim Ve'et Haaretz, V'shamru B'nei Yisrael, Et HaShabbat, Lasot et HaShabbat, Ledora B'Rito Olam. Uvom Yishma'i, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, V'shamru B'nei Yisrael, Et HaShabbat, Lasot et HaShabbat, Ledorotam Berit Olam. Now move to the Amidah on page 164. When you arrive there, I invite you to stand with me. Adonai Sefatai Titach Uli Agita Ilatecha. Adonai Sefatai Titach Uli Agita Ilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor HaNorah El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tolim V'Konei HaKol V'Zocher Chasdei Avot U'Imahot U'Mevi Geula L'Bnei B'neihem L'man Shemo B'Ahava Melech Ozer U'Mashiach U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Abraham Ezrat Sarah Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mekayeh HaKol Atah Rav Yoshiyah Mashiv HaRuach U'Mariv HaGeshem Mechakel Chayim B'Chesed Mechayeh HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim Somet Noflim V'Rofei Cholim U'Matir Rasurim U'Mekayem Emunato Shanei Afar Michamocha Ba'al Gevurot U'Midom Melech Melech Me'it U'Mechayeh U'Matmir Yeshua Ne'eman Atah L'Chayot HaKol Baruch atah Adonai Mechayeh HaKol. We will now continue silently until page 180. You may be seated whenever you like. I know, a little lady. I'm sorry. Oh, say shalom b'mromav. Huya say shalom aleinu. Ve'yakol Yisrael. V'imru amen. Oh, say shalom b'mromav. Huya say shalom aleinu. Ve'yakol Yisrael. V'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, v'yakol Yisrael. 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 Okay, now some words of Torah. So I'm going to start with a few verses from this week's Torah portion. It goes like this. Joseph took two of them, Ephraim with his right hand to Israel's left, and Manasseh with his left hand to Israel's right, and brought them close to him. But Israel stretched out his right hand and laid it on Ephraim's head, though he was younger, and his left hand on Manasseh's head, thus crossing his hands, although Manasseh was the firstborn. When Joseph thought this, that his father was placing his right hand on Ephraim's head, he thought it was wrong. So he took his father's hand and moved it from Ephraim's head to Manasseh's head. No, father, Joseph said to his father, for the other is the firstborn. Place your right hand on his head. But his father objected, saying, I know, my son, I know. And he too shall become a people, and he too shall be great. Yet his younger brother shall be greater than he, and his offspring shall be plentiful enough for nations. This is one of those rare moments where I feel the fourth wall in our Torah narrative has been broken. As if Jacob shifts his head from looking at his son Joseph to looking at us. An honest acknowledgement of one of the Torah's most famous tropes, the firstborn not getting the blessing as promised in ancient Near East law. Jacob himself is a second-born son, but received Isaac's blessing. Joseph is like Jacob's 11th born son, and obviously had acquired more wealth than all of his brothers combined. Our Torah subverts a long-established tradition, and Jacob finally just says it out loud. While our Torah frames it as blessings, really what the Torah is subverting is ancient Near Eastern system of inheritance. This system of inheritance may seem antiquated, but it was profoundly an important tool to keep wealth centralized and growing for ancient Near Eastern families. Just like in Jacob's case, families were big. This isn't just because the lack of family planning tools in the ancient world. Children represent a workforce. You hear that, Asher? Farming and animal husbandry requires a lot of hands, and children help a father's wealth grow. When the father dies, that very wealth could be permanently damaged by splitting the inheritance evenly among all the children. But it's still not a fair system for the sons born after the first, who have worked just as hard as the first son, but without the same reward. And there are a number of theories of what exactly children inherited from their fathers. In Deuteronomy 21, it states that the oldest son receives a double portion, whatever that means. Another theory is that the oldest son receives most of the estate of his father, while the rest of the sons split the rest. A third theory is that the youngest sons simply work for their oldest brother when their father dies. And the reason why our knowledge is limited is because, honestly, the heroes of the Torah are often wealthy. Now, why they're wealthy, I'll get into in a moment. But the fact that they are wealthy is not how a normal ancient Near Eastern family experienced life. So they are not representative of the daily life of the average ancient person. But since they accrued so much wealth, the matter where it goes is incredibly important. Now, that being said, we see in the case with both Jacob and Joseph, they were not the firstborn son and thus should not receive their father's inheritance. And here's the thing, they really don't. Jacob has to flee the land of Canaan before his father passes away and is gone for 20 years, well after his father dies, which means Esau must have received the inheritance, even if he didn't receive his father's blessing. And Joseph is famously kidnapped and sold as a slave by his brothers. Thus, he must make a new life in Egypt and definitely does not experience any notion of inheritance. In both of these examples, these sons do not actually inherit, but become wealthy anyways. And our Torah is trying to prove a point. They don't need the normal ancient Near East convention to achieve wealth because they have Adonai. Adonai is what makes them wealthy. This is Adonai making good on God's covenant to Abraham. The Torah is saying that Adonai's covenant means that the first son inheriting wealth is not a factor. And we see this drawn out with Jacob growing wealthy through his work under Laban, his uncle. And we see Joseph succeed his father by becoming second in command of all Egypt. Adonai's covenant is a fascinating thing because God doesn't hand over money to our patriarchs, like literally. But Adonai helps them find creative routes to new forms of wealth, upheaving the standard way of acquiring it through inheritance. Jacob becomes a gifted sheep herder and then tricks Laban out of his wealth. Joseph becomes a trusted advisor by being a successful dream interpreter, but both had help from Adonai. And this may be one of the reasons why the Torah became such a New York Times bestseller. It's not just a fun literary device where an unusual thing happens. The second son receives a blessing instead of the first son. These people are often the underdog. They are not warriors. They don't have any resources of their own, and yet they succeed in mind-boggling ways. The Torah shows how Adonai worshipers grow fabulously wealthy through great storytelling. I believe any person throughout history who grew up poor found much inspiration from these stories. And that's most people. A story about heroes through a combination of creativity, hypercompetency, humility, and faith achieve what they set out to do is a timeless good read. And are these not the same values we cherish here in the USA? The Torah empowers us to achieve our own success. And I believe the very bedrock of our country and most of Western civilization is lifted up by the Torah. Our Torah is saying when we worship Adonai, a byproduct of that worship is becoming self-made. That's right, Lila. I can see why so many people found this message attractive. So when Jacob switched his hands and crossing them, he didn't just subvert a normal ancient Near East culture. He said that your sons, Joseph, are going to be great because of what they do, not what they inherit. Thank you. We're now going to move to the Misha Berach, our prayer for healing, which is on page 371 of your prayer books. And in our own community, these members are in need of healing. Emily Weaver, Ginger Spiro, John Johnson, Pat Victor, Janice Breeze, Ross Rumack, Cheryl Lambriani, and Megan Hayden. If there's someone who is in need of healing, please feel free to say their names out loud or in your hearts. Share. Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha liyavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shleima, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. We now move to the Elenu on page 587 of our prayer books. And when you arrive there, I invite you to stand with me. Lenu Shabbat la'adon hakol la'tek gidula le'yotzer b'reshit shehu samcham kin le'yached et shemo v'gora le'nu lahamlik malchuto v'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modin lifnei melech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. 591. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding. Love to each of us for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech. May we never lift up our hands but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity, and cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai l'melech kol ha'aretz bayom hahu yiyeh Adonai echad u'shemo We now turn to the Mourner's Kosh on page 598. And it's with a heavy heart that I announce that we were in a period of Shiva for our longtime member, Jackie Erdischek. And the yard sites that we have this week are Marvin Afey, Ann Kamener, Maurice Geckler, Isidore Gutenberg, Jane Leon, Sidney Raritz, Brent Schomburg, Marion Silverbook, and Milton Zaman. If there's someone who you are thinking of or mourning for this Shabbat, please feel free to say their names out loud or in your hearts. May the memory be for a blessing. Yit Gadal, Yit Kadash, Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma Divrach, Rute, V'yam Lik Machute, B'chayechon, U'v'yamechon, U'v'chayed Rechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala, U'v'zman Kari, V'imru, Amen. Yehesh Me Rabbah Mebarak Le'olam Ulamei Almaya. Yitbarak v'yishtabak v'yitpa'ar v'yitbramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemer kudashah b'richu le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiram be'elma v'imru. Amen. Yehesh lama rabba min shemaya v'chayim alen yiv'akol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav hu yaseh shalom. Aleni v'yakol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. May the one who creates a harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say, Amen. You may be seated. Okay, announcement. So we have Oneg right after this, so stick around for that, please, and we'll have challah and grape juice. And then tomorrow we have our Exploring Liturgy at 9:30. Which I will be writing tomorrow, and we'll be learning about the Elaine. I know. Good luck. I have to follow Moshe's act, but yes, we'll be learning about the Elenu tomorrow at 9:30, and then 10:30 we'll have our usual morning services. And then I'm trying to go in person in the library. Yeah, 9:30. And then what else we got going on? Trying to think. We have morning minion on Wednesdays at 8:30 a.m. And starting January 26th, we're gonna have morning minions on Thursdays in person. And then we're gonna go over to kava pancakes afterwards. So come for the minions, stay for the pancakes. And then I think that's about it, right? Am I missing anything? Anyone think of anything else? Okay. All right. So closing melody, we're gonna recite Ozi Bazimrat Yav, which I will 6:10. Rabbi points to Seth. 6:47. Bottom thing on the page there. Ozi Vazimrat Ya Vayahi Ali Alishua Ozi Vazimrat Ya Vayahi Ali Alishua Ozi Vazimrat Ya Vayahi Lishua Ozi Vazimrat Ya Vayahi Lishua Ozi Vazimrat Ya Vayahi Ali Lishua. Shabbat shalom, everyone.